Do your spreadsheets look like this? Do you want them to look like this? Well, my friend, in this video, we're going to show you how to make some beautiful spreadsheets. Hey friend, hope you're having a tremendous day so far. As always, I'm Dave, from Dave the Spreadsheet Guy, and in this video, as I've just mentioned, we're going to make some beautiful spreadsheets. Okay, we're going to do that with the wonders of Dave's Introduction to Formatting. So, this worksheet is available for download at the website davethespreadsheetguy.com. And so if you want to work through this video with us, feel free to download the worksheet and get involved. So what we're going to be looking at is two main areas of formatting. We're going to be looking at the visual aspects, so fonts, colours, orientation, that sort of stuff. And then at the back end of the video, we're going to be looking at the different types of data that you can have within your cells. So how we format cells to show currencies, percentages, dates, numbers, all that good stuff. So stay tuned for the end of the video to see that action. Anyway, without further ado, let's get stuck in. So the example we're going to use to work us through the visual areas of formatting, is this local five-a-side league table. Okay, sponsored by Bob's Fruit and Vegetable. Now, this isn't a paid promotion video, and I'm not really getting £5 every time I mention Bob's Fruit and Vegetable. Ooh, £10. So let's go through this example and show you how to bold, underline and italic. You see here in this table, we've got some headers. Team, played, won, etc. Okay, that go across the top here. So what we want to do, we want to left click on team, hold the left mouse button down, and then drag across until we get to points. Okay, whenever you format anything in Excel, the format will always apply to the cells that you've got selected. So that's why we've selected the headers in this way. So to bold, underline and italic, you don't have to do all of those, you can do them independently. We go up to the home ribbon at the top here, and then in the font section, you see we've got this B, this I and this U at the top here. Okay, so if we hover over one of these buttons, you get a little bubble that comes up, and it basically tells you what that button relates to. Okay, so as I click these buttons, just watch these headers and see what happens to them. First off, I'm going to click the B for bold. So you'll see the headers have now gone bold. If I click the I for italic, you'll see they've now gone to the italic style, which makes them slant to the right. And then finally, when I click on the U for underline, surprise, surprise, your headers are underlined. So that's bold, underline and italic. There is some bonus material in this section for you guys as well, you lucky so-and-sos. You can double underline a cell as well. So with this title that we have here, Local Five-a-Side League, we're going to give this a double underline. Now to do that, we go to the home ribbon again, and again in the font section. Instead of clicking underline, we click this little arrow to the right of the U, and that then gives us two options. We can underline, like we did before, or, as I mentioned, we can double underline. So if we give that a click, you can then see that the title of this table is now double underlined. So that's bold, underline and italic in a nutshell. Moving on to merging cells. Now merging cells is where you take individual cells and you merge them into one big cell. Okay, so we're going to use that on this title of this league table. Okay, so we click where the title lives in cell B48. You see up here in the formula bar, all the words are in there. Notice there's nothing in these cells. Okay, so we click on that, and then we hold the left mouse button down, and we drag across to cover all of the cells that we want to merge into one cell. So we're going to spread this title across the top of this league table. Okay, so with our cells selected, we go to the home ribbon, and in the alignment section, you've got merge and center. Now if we give that bad boy a click, you can see our cell is now merged into one big cell. Okay, the other benefit of merging cells is when it comes to borders. We will cover borders in a couple of steps time, but when you apply a border to a merged cell, it doesn't apply the border to all the individual cells. Obviously because the cell is merged, you get the border around that one big merged cell. Okay, one last thing about merging cells. This button up here that we clicked on, the merge and center button, is a toggle button. So if I wanted to unmerge this cell and return it back to its individual cells, all I'd have to do is click on the button again, and you'll see we've now got all of these other little cells available to us again. Now the important thing to note is when you're merging cells, say if we had a word, literally a word, in this cell here, okay? If we wanted to merge all of these cells together, the only value that would show in the merged cell is this value on the left. So it's the leftmost uppermost value that remains when you merge a cell. So a word here in this cell would be removed. Okay, so that's something to be wary of when you're merging cells. So when we click merge and center again, you'll see we get a little message come up from Microsoft Excel, and it says merging cells only keeps the upper left value and discards other values. So the upper left value in this case is local 5-a-side league, this text here, and this word here, a word, is going to be discarded. So we click OK to acknowledge that, and you'll see the merged cell is as it was before. Okay, so moving on, you may have noticed that that merged cell was centered. That relates to the alignment of the cell. Now alignment basically means where this data sits, so click on this cell for example, where this data sits in its cell. So this cell here is left aligned. The data is sitting on the left hand side of the cell. We could change that to center aligned. So we go to the home ribbon. Got ahead of myself there. Then we click on, go into alignment, and then we click on these options here. So this one is align left. You'll see it's highlighted in grey at the moment. That means it's the one that's active. We've also got center alignment. So if I click on that, with that cell selected, you'll see the data has now moved to the middle of the cell. And then right align or align right, if I click on that, you'll see the data is now on the right hand side of the cell. Okay, so that's how alignment works. There is also other options for alignment. You've got top alignment, middle alignment, and bottom alignment. Now when the rows, this is a row by the way, when the rows are standard width, 15 points high, as it is, then top, middle and bottom doesn't really have any effect. However, you see where it says 65 and 66. If I go in between there, you'll see the mouse cursor changes to that double-headed arrow. If I hold the left mouse button down, you'll see it says height 15, 15 points. If I drag that down, you'll see we can grow the row. That rhymes, nice. Okay, and this is where top, middle and bottom will then come into play. So, with that cell selected, if I chose, you see it's bottom aligned at the moment. If I chose middle, you'll see this number 8 has moved to the middle portion of the cell. If I click top, you'll see that 8 moves to the top of the cell. So that's top, middle and bottom, left, centre and right alignment. Okay, let's put this back to the way it was. So that was on the left. And then to automatically fit the row height to what's in these cells, all you have to do is again go between the 65 and the 66. Wait for the arrow to turn into a double-headed arrow. And then if you double click on the left mouse button, like so, it will automatically adjust the row height to fit the data that's in these cells. So we want all of these numbers to be right aligned. So what we're going to do, we click on this top left figure here, this number 8, hold the left mouse button down, and then we drag all the way to the bottom right hand corner of our data. So that's now selected. Then we go home ribbon, alignment, right align, and click on that. And you'll see now all of our numbers have been moved to the right of their respective cells. So that's left, right, and center alignment. Enjoy. So from here we go on to borders. Alright, so league table's looking pretty good so far. Got some nice formatting in place, but it's hard to really tell what data relates to what header. So the way we get around that is by putting borders in. It just borders off cells and headers and just makes things a bit clearer. So what we're going to do, we're going to select our entire table like so. Okay, and we're going to put a border around each cell within this selection. So the way we do that, obviously we've selected our data. We then go up to the home ribbon, and then in the font section, we've got a border button here. Now it's currently set to bottom border, so if we clicked on that, we would just get a border across the bottom of the table. But we can change that. This little arrow on the right hand side gives you a range of preset options. So you can see we can apply borders to the bottom, top, left, right, and so on and so forth. There are more advanced border options in the bottom here and more borders, but we'll have a look at that in just a second. For now, we want to click on all borders, and that then gives us borders around every cell within the selection. And notice how the merged cell has got the border around the entire merged cell. Cool. So you can see easily at a glance now which header relates to which set of data. Now let's finish this off with the borders. Let's select everything again, and again go up to our borders arrow, but this time we want to put a thick outside border around the whole league table, just to section it off, you know. So if we give that a click, can't see it at the moment, but now you'll see there's a big thick black border around the entire table. Awesome. So that's borders, basic borders. There are other options as well, like I mentioned. So if we again go up to our borders arrow, if we click on more borders, you'll see we can have different styles of borders. So we can have different line styles, we can have dashes, we can have dots, thick, double line, so lots of stuff there. We can also change the colour of our borders. So we could have a red border if we really wanted to, but we're going to leave that out for this example. And then we can apply those borders to different sections of our selection. So if we wanted a top border, we click on this button, a bottom border, a left border, a right border, and then any cells within the selection you can do middle borders. You can have presets at the top here as well. You can take all the borders away by clicking none. You can just do an outline, or you can click all of the cells inside your selection. So lots of different options there for borders. Go away, give it a try, see what works for you. That's the best way about Excel. I can show you all this information in a video, but it's when you go away and start playing around with it that you'll get the real learning experience. Okay, so that's borders. I'll click on cancel because we don't want to do any of that. And let's move on to font style and size. So you can see here, we've got the table in its current state with its borders. Fantastic. Now what we want to do is change the style of these team names. Now you'll see they've got lots of different font types. We've got a big thick one up here for stallions. We've got a slightly crazy one here for wolves. So what we want to do, we want to standardise those. So to do that, we hold the left mouse button down on stallions and select all of our team names. And then when we got to the home ribbon in the font section, you'll see here we've got, this is the name of a font. If we hover over it, you'll see a little font bubble pop up as well. So this one's called Aharoni. Very nice. But to change the font of the selection that we've made, we click on the little arrow to the right of the font name, and then that brings up a list eventually of different fonts that we can do. So you get a little preview of what the font looks like on the font name, and also if you look at the actual data that we're highlighted, you'll see as we move over different font names, it gives us a preview, can't really see it because the menu's in the way, of what the different fonts will look like in our table. So we're going to choose Calibri, which is the default font from Microsoft Excel. And there you go. You can see that all our team names are now standardized with the same font. Okay, so that's font style. Play around with those again. You know, it's all about trial and error and finding what font works for you. With regards to our title, we kind of want that to stand out a little bit. So that's where we're going to look at font size. Now, there are 3 ways that I can think of, you may think of more, that you can change the size of your font. Okay, so you select the cell that you want to format, as always, and up here in the home ribbon, in the font section, funny enough, the 3 main options we've got are these buttons. So this will increase your font size, this will decrease your font size, these 2 A buttons. So you can click on these and you'll see in our table the font grows, and when we click on the decrease font size, the font shrinks. Okay, the other option you've got is clicking on this little downward arrow next to your font number. This is the font size, by the way, size 11. If you click on the downward arrow, you'll see that we get a range of different preset numbers, and as we hover over each of those, the font in our table, the selected font in our table, grows or shrinks. The other way that you can change your font size is by just directly clicking into the cell, into this number, and just typing what size font you want. So we're going to go for 16. And then when you hit the tab button, you'll see the font in this cell is now size 16. Fantastic. So that's how we work with font styles and font sizes. Moving on to font colour. Now this is where we bring some colours into our table. It looks a bit black and white at the moment, you know, like a 1920s newspaper publication. So let's add a bit of colour. There's also some bonus material in here, guys. Don't let me forget that. So, our main title, Local Five-a-Side League. Let's go for some colour in there. Let's change the font colour to red. So to do that, we select the cell or cells that we want to format. We go into the Home ribbon, surprisingly, and in the font section, you've got this little A at the top here. It's got a little red line underneath it. Sometimes that'll be red. It's basically the colour of the last font that you selected. So you can click on that, and that'll make the font red. But if you want to choose some other colours, click on this little arrow to the right of font colour, and it brings up a little palette. Now you've got some pastel colours at the top here, the theme colours, or you've got some more brighter sort of standard colours in this section. You can click on more colours as well and mix up your own colours, depending on the mix of R, G and B, but we're going to go for a standard red. And notice when we hover over the colour again, it gives us a preview in our actual table of what that's going to look like. So we'll click on red, and you can now see the title of the league table has gone red. Let's highlight our other data. We'll make this all one colour. Okay, so we select the cells that we wish to format again. Again, Home ribbon, font section, and then click on the font colour downward arrow, and we choose a colour. So let's go for a little blue. This is quite a nice blue. We click on that, and you can see our title is now red, and our other data is now blue. But play around with different colours. Everybody's got a different favourite colour, you know, so do what works for you. It's your spreadsheet. Now the bonus material I mentioned earlier. Haha, this is brilliant. If you've got this title cell, for example, you can see it's all red, but you can make different colours within one cell. So Bob turned round to me and he said, Dave, whenever you mention Bob's fruit and vegetable, I want those words to be green. Haha, brilliant, but we want our title to be red. So what we can do, we click on our cell, and then we go up to our formula bar up the top here, where the actual data of the cell sits, and we select the words Bob's fruit and vegetable. Now with that selected, we can then go to our font colour drop down, and we can select green. Now notice when we do that, nothing actually happens. But if you then press the enter button on the keyboard, you'll then see we've got two different colours within the one cell. So there you go, that's font colour. Play around with it, bring in your favourite colours, live the colour dream. Alright then, so now we've worked out how to change the colour of your font, let's have a look at how to change the colour of your cells. So basically we mean the background colour behind these numbers and words. So when we format anything in Excel, we have to select the cells that we wish to format. So left mouse button down and drag and select. Okay, so to change the cell colour, it's quite similar to the font colour. We go to the Home ribbon again, and in the font section, instead of clicking on font colour, we're going to choose fill colour, this option on the left here. Okay, click the little downward arrow, and that brings up the palette of colours, and then choose a colour for the background that you want to see. So you'll notice again, when we hover over the certain colours, it gives us a preview in our table of the background colour and how it's going to look. So let's go for this nice pastel blue here. We click on that, and you can see the background of our league table is now coloured in blue. Now it's not a bad colour to choose because it doesn't take anything away from the font. You can still read the font quite easily with that background colour. Whereas if we had chosen something a bit more garish, it might have made it a little bit more difficult to see what was going on in the table. Cool, so that's cell colour. You might also notice that these spreadsheets, they've got a white background. Okay, that's something I do with my spreadsheets. You don't have to do it with yours, but I think it makes your spreadsheet look a bit fresher. So for example, if I hit Control and N for a new spreadsheet, you'll see that the default that comes out when you start a new worksheet, you've got these grid lines, and that's because there's no colour in the cells behind. Okay, so the way I'll get around that, I click here between the A and the 1. If I click there, that selects everything within the workbook. And then I just go to Fill Colour, and I fill it in white. It gets rid of the grid lines, and it gives you a nice fresh looking spreadsheet. And then you can add borders in, as we've done in the previous example. Okay, but that's just my preference, that's what I do. So if we go back to my spreadsheet, you can see, yeah, everything in the background here is coloured in white. So, just try different colours, see what works for you. Live the colour dream. Awesome. So, the finished 5-a-side table then. Let's look at how far we've come. So we started off with this rather bland looking league table. Nothing was really structured too well, nothing really stood out. And you can see where we've finished up. Slightly different background colour to the one we chose up here, but you can see what we're trying to get at. We've got a nice big title coloured in. We've got highlighted headers. All the data is aligned in the correct fashion, and everything looks pretty much standardised. It's not a bad looking league table, but I challenge you to go away and try some different colours, some different formatting options, and see what you can come up with. Anyway, we're going to put the league table aside there, and we're going to move on to the next section, which is managing indent. Now, indent relates to the indentation of your cells. Okay, so these two cells are pretty much the same, pastry and short crust. They've both got words in them, and they both start at the same place. So short crust here, there's no gaps in front of short crust. The reason for this big gap here is the indent. Now, the way we change indent is we select the cell that we want to change the indent for. We go to the home ribbon, and then in the alignment section, we've got these two buttons here. Now, this button on the left here is decrease indent, and this button on the right here is increase indent. This button, the one on the left, will move your data closer to the left, and this button on the right here will move your data further away from the left, closer to the right. So if we reset short crust by decreasing the indent, you can see short crust in the cell below moving to the left. We've got this ingredients list. Now, pastry is one of the ingredients, and short crust is kind of a subsection of pastry. So what we want to do, we want to do 2 indents on the pastry. So we go to the home ribbon, alignment, increase indent. If we click on that twice, you can see pastry is now indented. And then if we go to short crust, we're going to increase the indent 4 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's how indent works. It allows you to just create indents on your data. Cool. Now, a quick and easy way of doing a formatting of a table is to insert a table. Now, a table in Excel is a pre-formatted sort of colour scheme, and it allows you to quickly and easily put a colour scheme in place for a set of data. So, here we've got a list of insect types found at the local ponds. So if we select, where do I come up with these examples? If we select all of the data, okay, now there's 3 main ways of bringing in a table. Now, the first option you've got, selecting the data, you can go to the home ribbon, and then you can go to styles here, and click on format as table. And that then gives you a range of preset options that you can choose for your table. Let's bring in a nice green for the pond, eh? You then get Excel asking you a question. Where is the data for your table? Now, because we've already selected the data, Excel knows that's where the data is. Okay, and we've got headers in our table. I'll show you why that's important in a second. But that's ticked, so my table has got headers. If we click on OK, you can then see that Excel has automatically formatted this as a table. We've got a nice green header section, and the data underneath is bordered off, so a nice little table. You've also got the added benefit here of these little filter buttons across each top of each header. Now, what they allow you to do, they allow you to filter and sort the data within your table. I will do a separate video on tables, but just to quickly go over that. If we wanted to hide the centipede line, we would uncheck it from this list and click OK. And you can see now centipede has disappeared from our table. That's only because it's been filtered out, and that's shown by the fact that you've got a filter sign here and you've got blue numbers in your rows here as opposed to black numbers. That shows you that a filter's been applied. To bring centipedes back, bring back the centipede, Dave. You click again on this filter button and then you click on the word centipede, check the box, and then click OK. And 3, 2, 1, the centipede is back in the room. There you go. You can also sort. So you'll notice here that beetle, centipede, worm, ant, it's not in alphabetical order. Ant should be at the top here. So the way we do that, we again click on this filter, but instead of checking any of these boxes, we just click on sort A to Z at the top here. And that then sorts this list alphabetically by insect type. And you'll see the data for ant has been brought along with it as well. Cool. So that's one way of bringing a table into Excel. If I do some undo action, I've got it in my quick access toolbar, but you can do Control and Z as a shortcut to undo. Let's get this table back to its original state. There you go. So this is where we started. If you again select your data, the other option to bring in a table is by using the Insert ribbon. And then you can click on Table. So that then gives you the same question you had before. Where's the data? Have you got headers? Now I mentioned before about headers. If we were to uncheck this and say no, my table hasn't got any headers, even though it blatantly has, what the table would then do, if we click OK, it would treat your headers, which you've said you haven't got, as data, and it would bring its own headers in for you to rename. Okay, so if you've got headers, it's important to bring those in. Okay, the third way, the final way that I can think of to bring in a table is to select your data again, and you use the Control button shortcuts. So either Control and L or Control and T will bring you in a table. Control and L relates to list, which is the previous name for table, and Control and T obviously relates to table. So if I do a Control and T, again we get the question, where's the data? Have you got headers? Cool, that's all good. We click OK, and there's your table. Now when you bring a table into Excel, it defaults to this blue colour. However, if you click in your table anywhere, if you want to change the colour, as long as you've got a cell within your table selected, you can go to this table design ribbon that's opened, and then on the right here, you've got various different colour options that you can apply to your table. So if we go for this garish orange colour, nice. Okay. If we want different colours for different rows within our table, maybe choose this gold option here. There you go. So you can play around with different table styles at the top here within this table design ribbon. But notice when I click out of the table, so I'll select a cell that's not part of that table, the table design ribbon has disappeared. So if you want to make any changes to your table, make sure you click in it and the table design ribbon will become available. Okay, so now we're covered off tables, let's have a look at wrap text. We're coming to the end of our visual section now as well. Only 2 sections left, guys. So, wrap text is where you've got some words or some numbers in a cell, and there's a bit of overhang. Okay, what's in the cell kind of overflows out of the cell. Now, the way to get around that is to use wrap text, which then takes the overhang and flows it underneath the original words. So, vegetable, in this instance, would wrap around and flow underneath Bob's fruit and. Do I get £5 for that? Probably not. So, let's just give it a try and you'll see how it works. Again, we click on the cell that we wish to format. Then we go to the Home ribbon at the top. And in the Alignment section, you've got Wrap Text. So it's as simple as clicking on that. And then you can see the vegetable part of Bob's fruit and vegetable has wrapped around underneath the cell. Cool. So that's Wrap Text. You can unwrap the text simply by clicking the button again, and that will return it to its original state. Cool. The other way of getting to wrap text is to right click on the cell and select Format Cells from this menu, and then in the Alignment section you've got this box here, Wrap Text. You can either check that on or check it off. Okay, and that'll apply or unapply wrap text as necessary, and then click OK. Cool. So the final part of this visual section is text orientation, and that relates to which way the text is going. So the default when you put text or numbers or dates into Excel is for them to go left to right in a horizontal fashion. But what if you're creating something a little bit funky and you want the text to go off at an angle or vertical? Well, that's where text orientation comes in. So we click on our cell with not horizontal in it, and we go to the home ribbon, and in the alignment section you've got this little button here. This little fella is orientation. If you click on that, then you get some preset options as to how to angle your data. So if we choose angle counterclockwise, that will then rotate the text around in an counterclockwise or anti-clockwise fashion. So we now go from the bottom left corner of the cell to the top right corner of the cell. Okay, if you want to get a bit more detailed with that, if you right click on the cell again and go to Format Cells again, this menu is really handy by the way, so it's good to know where it is. If you then go to Alignment, as we're in, on the right here you've got Orientation, and that allows you to rotate the text. So at the moment we're at a 45-degree angle as per our last adjustment. However, we can change that. We can either use the up and down buttons here to increase or decrease the angle, or we can see we've got this orange diamond highlighted here that shows the position that the rotation's in. If we hold the left mouse button down there, we can drag and we can manually change the angle based on what we do with our mouse. So I've moved that down to a minus 45-degree angle, so this little diamond is highlighted. If we then click OK, we can see that the text now goes from top left to bottom right. So that's text orientation. It's a handy little tool, like I say, if you're creating something a little bit snazzy in your spreadsheets. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the visualization section. So if you've got any questions or are unsure about anything that we've been through, feel free to drop a comment in the comments section below this video. If not, come join us on Facebook. We've got our Facebook page, Dave the Spreadsheet Guy, or we've got a Discord community, or maybe come and join one of our Twitch streams. You know, come and ask questions. That's what we're here for. Okay, cool. So that's the visualizations done. Let's now move on to data types. Now, as you can see from this list, there are quite a few different data types within Microsoft Excel. Okay, and they're all quite straightforward. So we're just going to run through them just so you're aware of what they are and how they work. Now, don't worry about this stuff on the right here. This stuff on the right is basically for people who haven't got time to watch the video. They'd rather take the worksheet away and just read it through themselves. Okay, this explains what these formats are all about for them. Lucky for you, you're watching this video, hopefully, and I'm going to go through them now. So, general number format. That is the default format. So most things that you type into Excel will end up as the general format. Okay. If Excel recognises a currency, if you put a currency symbol in, then it will change it to currency itself. But general is the default data type. Okay. To change this format to a number, this looks like a number anyway, but it's currently formatted as general. To change this to number format, what we would have to do is go to the home ribbon, and then in the number section here, we've got this format bar or number format. Okay. Now this is designed as a quick access way of changing your number format or your data format to a different format. How many times can I say format in one sentence? I'm just going to click this button. So, okay, what you can see in this list is a range of different data types, okay, that you can apply to your selected cells. So, also notice that we've selected this cell here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Notice that Excel has picked up on that and has shown you what your value would look like, what your cell would look like if you chose a particular format. Okay, so we're going to choose number here. Now number defaults you to 2 decimal places. Now that's cool. You can change the number of decimal places on this screen. If you select your cell, and in the home ribbon, in the number section, you've got these 2 buttons on the right here. Now these 2 dudes, they're going to basically either increase your decimal or decrease your decimal. So if we want the 4 decimal places on our number, we've got 2 at the moment, we click increase decimal twice, 1, 2, and that then gives us 4 decimal places showing in our cell. If we wanted to revert that back to 2 decimal places, we would click the decrease decimal button twice, 1, 2, and that brings us back down to 2 decimal places. Okay, so that's the number format. The currency format, that's basically including a currency symbol within your cell. So at the moment this just shows 250, so it could be 250 pounds, it could be 250 Thai baht, it could be 250, I don't know, Malaysian ringgit, for example. But we don't know. So the way to do that is to format it as a currency. So we click again on our drop down list and click on currency, and that then puts a pound sign in as default. Now the reason it does that is because my version of Excel, I'm registered in the UK, so that puts a pound sign in as a default. If you're in the States, it will give you a dollar sign. If you're in mainland Europe, then it will maybe give you a euro. Cool, so that's currency. It comes with 2 decimal places as standard, but you can change that as well. In the next section we'll show you how. Accounting. Now accounting is very similar to currency. Okay, let's select it, and then we can play a game of spot the difference. So, yeah, the number's different, fine, that's because it was a different number. But the location of the currency symbol is different, so it's come over to the left hand side for the accounting format, and there's a small indent on the right hand side after the last decimal place as well. So that's the only difference really between the accounting format and the currency format. If I'm totally honest, I was a management accountant for years and I only really used the currency format. I never really bothered too much with the accounting format. But if there's a need for it in your spreadsheets, now you know where it is. Cool. So coming on to dates, you've got 2 different types of dates. You've got short date and long date. Now dates are basically numbers. I've got a separate video which I'm creating, which will explain how dates work. But dates are just numbers. They work based on 1900 dating system. If you want to go off and research that, cool. But if not, hang about. Future videos will show you how that all works. So to format this as a short date, we click on it to select it, and then again we go up to our number format menu and choose short date. You'll see there we get the day separated by a slash, then the month and a slash, and the year. Now the difference between a short date and a long date is now going to make itself evident. You basically get no slashes, and the month is specified as the long format word as opposed to 07 for July. Okay, so they're the 2 out of the box date formats that you can apply quickly and easily using this number format menu. Time. Okay, time. So the value of 1 is equal to a 24-hour period. So therefore 0.5 is going to be half of that. It should be 12 o'clock. So select the cell, choose the time format from the number format menu, and there you go, we get 12 o'clock. And it comes out as standard as hours, minutes and seconds. There is another video coming out soon where we look at custom formats, and there you can specify, you can go into quite a lot of detail regarding these different formats and how they're displayed, so you can trim off the seconds if you want to. Yeah, that should be quite a detailed video, but maybe the content in it is a bit too heavy for this introduction. I want to break you guys in gently, you know. So, percentage. Okay, so 0.6 as a percentage is going to be 60% in my maths. So basically we select the percentage format, and there it is, 60%. And it basically gives it to you as 2 decimal places with a percentage sign on it. Okay, so that's percentage. Fraction. Now I'm always a bit wary of fraction. Haven't really used it that much before, but it's not the most accurate format in the world. Okay, I'm going to show you why in just a second. So 0.3333, we all know that as a third. Well, hopefully we do. If not, we do now. So we choose the fraction format, and that brings us in at a third. However, if I was to change this number to, let's go for 0.35. Now that's not a third, that's a more detailed decimal. However, if I hit the enter button now, it still shows as a third. So basically what the fraction function does, it rounds it to the nearest suitable single digit fraction. Okay, so just be mindful of that when you're using fractions. If you're using simple fractions, so say if we were to type in 0.25, that's a quarter. That's exactly a quarter, and that works perfectly. But if you've got more complex numbers, just be careful. Okay, then scientific. That's for all you engineering scientific types out there. This is where you get E numbers. Now, you remember the good old days on your calculators where you type a really, really long number in and you get the E error message. If you don't remember that, then cool. But that's basically trying to give you some sort of scientific number. So if we click on it and choose the scientific format here, we had the number 12,000 in there. And this number basically means 1.2 times by 10 to the power of 4. Okay, that's just a scientific number format. That's how that works. So if that works for you, cool. If it doesn't, don't use it. Awesome. Okay, so the final format we're going to look at is text. Now, text is basically what you see is what you get. So if I was to type in, I don't know, 00123456, when I type that in and press the enter button, Excel would recognise that in general terms as 123456. It would drop these two leading zeros at the start. So I hit the enter button, and yep, that's what it's done. Whereas if we now format this as text, so we scroll to the very bottom of this list and choose text, it changes the alignment to the left. And if I was to retype 00123456 and hit the enter button, it keeps those leading zeros. So basically it is what you see, or what you type is what you get with regards to text. Okay, so they're the different number formats, data formats that you can have within Excel. They've all got their own merits, they all do different things, all show different things. So play around with them, have a little look, and work out which ones are relevant to you. Okay, so now we've seen how the quick access option up here is brilliant for quickly and easily assigning formats to your different data types. Let's move on to how to sort of tweak it a little bit further. Now we're going to use the right-click Format Cells method. Now I mentioned before that that Format Cells menu is rather handy. There's quite a lot of useful things in there, so you're going to be seeing us use that quite a bit in this next section. Okay, so what we've got here is a range of different number formats, the same ones as we saw above, but we're just going to show you how using the Format Cells option can enhance your use of allocating data types. It can be sort of quicker, there's less steps, you get things done the way you want them first time round maybe. So this is convenience up the top here, this home ribbon number section, whereas if you right click and choose Format Cells here, it then gives you a bit more customization, shall we say. So we're interested in numbers here, so in the number tab, that's not relevant, this will be for all the data types, we choose number in the category. Immediately here, when we're setting our number format, we can choose the number of decimal places that we want off the bat. Okay, so if we wanted 4 decimal places, we could choose that. So whilst we're formatting as number, we get to do this as well. It's like a one-stop shop for setting up your numbers. If you want to put a 1,000 separator in there, so that's a comma after every 3 digits, then you can do so. And you can specify how your negative numbers look as well. So if you wanted all negative numbers to have a negative sign and be black, you choose this format. If you didn't want the negative sign, but you wanted the number to be red, then you choose this option. So, you know, there's various different things that you can tweak and modify in there for your number format. But we're going to go with this top one and click OK. And you'll see there the format has now changed in there. If we were to make this minus 40,000, okay, and do the same thing, we'd right click and go to Format Cells. Move this over here again. We choose number as our format that we want. It automatically gives it 2 decimal places, but say we want 3. And then we want to use a 1,000 separator as well. So I'll show you how that works. You click in the box, and you'll see there you get a comma, 3 decimal places before the decimal point. So every time we get 3 numbers together, say if this was 4 million, you'd have a comma there, and you'd have a comma somewhere over here after the 4 of the 4 million. Okay, so every 1,000 it separates it with a comma. For our negative number format, because this is a negative number, it's negative 40,000, we can choose a format that works for us. So we're going to go for this one down the bottom here. We're going to have a minus sign and we're going to show the number as red, but only if it's negative. Okay, so if we click on OK, we can then see we've got our 3 decimal places that we asked for. It's red, and it's got a negative sign. So there's just different ways that you can customize your number formats. Moving on to currencies. Okay, we do the same again. We right click and we go to Format Cells. So for your currency, again we're in the Number tab. Choose currency from the category on the left here. Again, you can specify a different number of decimal places. I don't really see why you change the number of decimal places, because most currencies have got 2 decimal places, but it's all good. So the symbol, you can change the symbol. So I've defaulted to pound, but you've got different options. You've even got Bitcoin in here. Crikey, we're up to date. You've got Russian ruble. You've got dollars, all sorts of different dollar signs. Well, they're all the same dollar sign, just different originations. And I'm pretty sure you've got Japanese yen. Yeah, you've got all sorts. So you've got euros here. So choose a currency that works for you. I'm going to choose euros, Irish. And then again, you can specify your negative numbers. So we're going to go for no negative sign and red. Okay, and click OK. So if we were to change that to -100, you'll see there it's now gone red, because that's what we specified for our negative number format. Okay, so they're the advantages of using format cells for currency. I'm not going to go through it again for accounting, because it's pretty much the same as currency. You can choose a different symbol, and you can change how your negative numbers look. So we'll skip on that one. God, I'm lazy. Date. Okay, so you've got a variety of different date formats you can choose. When you choose out of the box, you can either have the short date format or the long date format, as we've previously seen. But if you right click and go to Format Cells, then choose Date on the left here of the Number tab. You can then choose from these various different formats below as to how you want to see your date. Okay, so we're going to choose this one and click OK. And there you go, it comes out as date format as we requested. Time, again, the value of 1 is 24 hours, so I'm expecting this to be 6 PM. But if we right click on it and go to Format Cells, we choose time as a format, but we've got different options here. So it defaults to the time there, the 24-hour clock, so it'll be 13:30:55. Well, actually it'll be 1800. So you've got 24-hour clock, but then you've also got 12-hour clock, and it specifies whether it's PM or AM. Okay, let's test that one out. Let's see if it works. So at the moment, it's 6 PM. If I was to change that to 0.25, cool. So it changes to 6 AM. So the AM and PM switches depending on which side of midday it is. Fantastic. So that's time formats. With percentage formats, the benefit of doing it right-clicking and formatting cells is that you click on percentage and you can specify the number of decimal places off the bat. So if I wanted 5 decimal places, there you go. It just gives you a bit more accuracy than 2 decimal places. And then you click OK. With fraction, again, I'm erring on the side of caution. Okay, you still right click and you still go to Format Cells. You're still in the Number tab, but you click on Fraction. And here you can change the degree of accuracy with your fractions. Okay, so we said before, out of the box using this quick access solution, we had 1-digit fractions. You can have 2-digit fractions. We can even have up to 3-digit fractions. Okay, but if you come up with a fraction that's a 4-digit fraction, so if this was 312 over 1943, Excel wouldn't show you that. It would still show you as a 3-digit fraction, and it would round to the nearest possible answer. Okay, so with fractions, like I say, just be careful. Okay, and then scientific, if we right click and go Format Cells, here we've got scientific on the left here, and then basically here you can just choose the number of decimal places before the E. So if we go 4 decimal places, you'll see let's put an extra couple of decimal places there before the E number. So that's scientific. Awesome. So that's how you get a bit more advanced with your data formats. You can go one step further. If I right click and Format Cells, you can then look at the custom option. There's nothing in special. I wish there was. Okay, and there is text there, but text is basically text as we showed in the previous example. So in custom, you've basically got a whole list of random bits and pieces fresh out of the lab, and you can customize your number formats to a pretty high extent, but like I said earlier, there's going to be a separate video for that. Okay, and then the final section is using text only. Now we've previously looked at text, and how it works, and we've even shown a bit of an example above about leading zeros. So this example is basically repeating that. So if we type 00123 and hit the enter button, we get 123 and not 00123. Now the difference is that this is formatted as text and this isn't. But do you want to keep going up here and changing the format to text, or keep using the right button and clicking on format cells just to turn something into text? Probably not. So a quick way of letting Excel know that you want to turn a data format into text is by using an apostrophe, like so. See that? Just typed an apostrophe in there. So if I then type 00123, the apostrophe, it basically tells Excel that you want to format this cell as text. And there we go. And then from there you can use your home ribbon alignment, left, right, whatever you want to do, to put it in the position you want it in. Brilliant. So that's a quick way of formatting a cell as text. It works really well with UK phone numbers. A lot of them start with zeros. So if I was to type in a phone number of, 01234512345, 123456, A, it would give me a scientific number. Brilliant. And B, it would drop that leading zero. Whereas if I was to type apostrophe 01234 123456, it then gives me the phone number as I've typed it. So the apostrophe, remember that? It's a great way of accessing a text format pretty damn quickly. Anyway, that's about it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching if you made it this far. That last bit was quite heavy, definitely get that. So really, if you've got any questions, please just get in touch. No question is too big, no question is too small. So we've got the mediums, like I said again, we've got the Facebook page, Dave the Spreadsheet Guy. We've got a Discord community, and we've got the Twitch live streams that we do, the Q&A sessions. Links for all of those are going to be put in the description of this video. But if you want to drop some comments in the meantime, please get involved. Anyway, that just leaves me to say, thanks for watching, have a fantastic day, and I'll catch you in the next video. Take care, guys.